What's up? Welcome to the coaches meeting. That's the coach.
What's going on?
I'm Grant Cohn. How you doing, coach?
Good, man. What's up, Miami boy?
I came back looking even paler, but I think it's just the light. It's an optical illusion. I'm super tan right now. I look great. And I have a six-pack.
You're glowing.
Thank you. All right. That's what everyone says to my wife. No one says it to me. Oh, my God, you're glowing. I'm like,
You're glowing, Grant.
I was on the same trip, but they're like,
you look so rested.
All right.
That's stuff that women say to each other after trips.
They do. You look so great. Okay. So the Niners have a secret plan for the offseason, and I found out what it is, and we're going to reveal it right now.
Let's talk about it.
But they do have a secret plan. This is the way I look at it. They don't want us to I feel like they're in the quarterback market, and they don't want us to know.
Right.
Like, he was asked point blank, Kyle, like, are you guys going to be looking for a quarterback? He was like, well, we have two starters, so probably not really. And he also said that Brock Purdy be ready for the start of training camp. Coach is coming back. I have a feeling Coach is coming back. There he is. So we know he's not going to be ready for the start of training camp. Now the veracity of Kyle Shanahan's statements is coming into question. And I'm wondering, does he want us to think they're not in the quarterback market? Are they snooping around under the cloak of darkness on purpose? Would you guess? Oh, hold on. You're muted. I don't know what happened. There you go.
You hear me?
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. I would. I would definitely be in the market for a quarterback right now. I wouldn't be wanting anybody to know. Definitely. Right. I think we flirt around with these like surefire guys that we think are going to really come in and do things for us, i.e., veteran guys like Tom Brady or guys like, we flirt around with Aaron Rodgers, even though that's a pipe dream. And, really it's just almost kind of like a rinse and repeat of what we think we're going to get in an upgraded version of Jimmy. So, Derek Carr, things of that nature. Yeah. And even if we get a guy like that, I just feel like we're just going to be a split. We're going to be a split fan base, because we're going to have people that are going to be riding on the cachet of whoever we bring in, which isn't going to be much because they wouldn't be on the market if their cachet actually mattered now. And we're still going to be kicking the can on Trey. So, yeah, if we get a guy, I want us to get a guy that's clearly going to be a backup. I don't want to get a guy that's going to be fighting to start for this year. I don't want that. Let's finally do it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off and figure out what Trey is.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that that's what's going to happen. I think we don't know how the Niners feel about Trey, really. It's possible that Kyle Shanahan wrote off Trey a year ago and doesn't want anyone to know because they want to trade him eventually. And if the world really knew what Kyle thought of Trey, his trade value would be a 6th-round pick or something. So maybe there's some business going on here. We don't know how they feel about Trey. The fact that they brought back Jimmy last year wasn't a good sign. And I guess which quarterback they sign will be an indicator. Like, if they sign Andy Dalton for a 1-year, $1 million contract, it means they still believe in Trey to an extent, or they really think Brock's coming back. If they go out and sign some quarterback for $10 to $15 million on a 1-year deal, that means that they look at Trey as a backup, or that they might trade him. One of the two. So it's going to be really interesting. But the way I look at it is like, remember last year when they were in the center market, but they didn't want anyone to know, and we kept asking about Alex Mack, and they were like, "Yeah, we have a pretty good idea what he's going to do."
I hear what you're saying about what the indicators will be on how we bring a guy in versus juxtaposed to how the coaching staff feels about Trey. Yeah. And I know we keep bringing up, how does the coaching staff feel about Trey? Does Kyle really want Trey? I think that doesn't matter anymore. I don't care if he doesn't like him or not. It really, quite frankly, he has to get on the field and play. If Trey Lance gets moved, or he for some reason does not start as the starter of the 49ers for this season, then acquiring him, the assets that we gave up for him, all of the man hours put into preparing him, this would be an abject failure, and we would have to wear that.
But hold on. Here's how Kyle's going to frame it, and everyone always buys Kyle's story. He's going to say, yeah, okay, we got it wrong with Trey, but Brock is the truth. And he's going to be out a little while, but he's coming back, and that's our QB1. All we need is a placeholder for 1 year, so we'll bring in, veteran quarterback X, give him $10 million. He's an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. And sure, we got it wrong with Trey Lance, but you know what? We got Brock, we got this guy, and you can't be right every time. That's how he would frame it. And people would be like, he is so courageous for saying that.
And you know what's kind of funny is that I'll ride with you, because that would be right up our alley to think that we can write the script, so to speak. That, that would be right up our alley to say, to make a move and then have everybody, pat each other on the back on how we got it right. We can see how we're connecting the dots down the line. But they would get
praised. They would get praised for acknowledging their mistake. That's so amazing. They moved on. Like, it would be such a positive. It would be spun as a positive.
Yeah, but that's not realistic. And the reason, and let's just keep the main thing. The reason why going to get anybody outside of a backup and not starting Trey would be a failure is because we just got more news on Brock Purdy. Right. And that is that he was supposed to have this surgery yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're looking at Brock waiting to get inflammation down in the arm for him to even get the surgery in early March. And that's even what they find once they get inside of his elbow.
And that's why it makes me feel like it's worse than they let on, and that they might be in the market for a starter. They might be.
And we talked about this when almost a month ago, when you said who's going to be the starter. Trey.
Yeah.
Brock is hurt. And what's scary about his injury is that we just don't know how hurt he is. And I feel like we all need to sit back and really just let that situation simmer, because there's a part of that situation that has nothing to do with football. His body has got to get back. He's got to figure out what's going on with that arm. So with that said, if we bring in a guy that's in there to challenge Trey to actually start, I think that's setting him up for failure. I think that's a clear message that they gave up on him well before last year, and that they're not willing to get him ready. Because you look at it this way: if we're playing to the good senses of our coaching staff, right? Let's say they're doing it the right way. If they're doing it the right way, then they're almost thrilled that they have Trey, because we did a whole install in a camp with you last year. Mm-hmm. So right now we have time on task. We have time on task with the limited games you did play. It's not much, but they're games. Okay. And we don't have to teach you a whole brand new install as a starter like we did last camp. We actually get to pick up the ball and keep rolling. So if they're showing any type of wavering on Trey being the guy, I would raise my eyebrows at that, because they're really supposed to be ready.
And this is, again, why people can't know if they're looking around, because this is all makes – if they're looking at Tom Brady or Ryan Tannehill or Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson, then the next question is, well, what about Trey? Trey thinks it. Everyone else thinks it. And what if the word gets out of the Niners are really interested in X quarterback or a bunch of quarterbacks? How do you repair the relationship with Trey at that point?
And then that's not even like once removed or twice removed. That's like 3-4 times removed. It's like, all right, you got him. You started Jimmy. We were cool with that. All right. Then you got him. He got hurt. Then you kept Jimmy. Everybody's kind of raising their eyebrow. Why aren't we getting rid of Jimmy? But we kind of were able to explain that away because he got hurt. So Jimmy coming in kept our season alive. Nobody was asking any questions. Then Jimmy gets hurt. Brock comes up, and just the response from what Brock has done, Trey is again trying to get a starting position, or trying to at least show what he can do. And then now, when the road is clear for him to take on the spot that he's supposed to, you go out and start shopping with a quarterback hurt. You can't explain that.
Yeah, and it's like, what if they go out shopping and don't get a guy? Like, what if they're interested in 3 guys and they don't get him? And it's like, okay, Trey, it's your turn. We really believe in you. So
Yeah.
they might. That's why they have to do this shopping under the cover of darkness. But that being said, we don't know what they're looking for. We don't know how they feel about Trey. We don't know if they're in the market for a backup or a starter. He said they're in the market. They're in the market for a backup because they have 2 starters. But he also said that Brock Purdy be starting there for training camp. So I don't think you can really trust Kyle on this one. And if they end up signing Tom Brady in August, don't be surprised. So let's go through some of the potential guys the Niners could sign that maybe fans don't even really understand are on the market. But before we do, let's answer some questions. Kyler V says, great, that jacket is fire.
That jacket is fire.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Ray Valencia says, coming from my mom who served the Niners a few times at her work, the only wine drinker is Bosa. Very polite and sophisticated, according to her. I can see that.
A sommelier.
I'm going to ask Bosa about drinking wine. Interesting. Ezio Sanchez says, question for Coach. I feel like a noob asking this, but could it make sense to find a second fullback and have Juszczyk float between fullback 1 and tight end 2?
I feel like we need to get a legit tight end 2. That solves that problem.
I think the Niners are trying to find a second fullback, though. I think that might be the plan for Jason Poe. Apparently, he's talked that they've given him reps at fullback. So I don't know. Isn't there a really big fullback on Baltimore who's kind of a X factor as a blocker? What is that guy's name? He's huge, right? He's big.
He's a big kid. He's a big kid.
Maybe that could be Jason Poe.
Yeah.
I can look him up.
But, I mean, given how our season ended, I would love for us to get a solid second backup tight end.
Patrick Ricard, 6'3", 305. That's the fullback for the Ravens. He's 300.
So he's a D tackle then.
Converted, and he really moves people. That's the thing with Juszczyk, like best fullback in the game, but the best thing he does is catch passes. I don't think he's necessarily the impact blocker he was 4 years ago when he was 29.
I will say that Juice is one of the best in the business at getting to the point of attack, though. I will say that there's a reason why he gets his money. He does a lot of dirty work, and as far as executing those really hard cutback blocks, he's kind of the best in the business. Almost as if like
that's true.
It's going to be hard to find somebody as talented to do that once he leaves.
But I'm just talking about like just straight up, lead blocking, and knocking someone back. There are guys who could probably do it better. And also like short yardage running, that's never been a feature of his game, which is crazy because that's usually what fullbacks do. But he's one hell of a receiver.
Yes.
So Jason Poe is what? He's 6 feet, 300 pounds. I'm telling you that he might be the Niners' Patrick Ricard. Look for that.
That's a good call.
Dave Barclay says, can we win with Kyle ever? Jed won't fire him. Well, we'll see. I think that these next 2 years are critical. You're going to have all of these vets on the team. You got this core together for 2 more years. I'd like to see him win the Super Bowl.
I'd say 2 more years, or when the excuses run out. After 2 years, you can't say anything about the quarterback. After 2 years, you can't say anything about the window. After 2 years, NFC Championship game will not cut it. It's almost going to be an insult to go to an NFC Championship game. So in 2 years, we're going to start looking.
Dave Barclay says, appreciate you guys. First live with Coach, killing it. Oh, yeah. Voice ad agency says, at Coach, with all the offensive weapons we had last year, are you surprised that we did not throw the ball more in spread formations involving 5 wide receivers?
No, because that's just not our game. We don't have the offensive line for a 5 wide offense, to be real with you. That would be embarrassing to the point where it would, when you go 5 wide, there's really no help, and you need to keep running backs in to chip. I don't think that we had that. And another thing with 5 wide is you have to actually the scheme has to be honorable to the defense, meaning that defenses have to feel like you will throw the ball deep. And if you can't do that in 5 wide, then you're going to get picked all day.
Also in 5 wide,
sit on everything.
The ball has to come out almost immediately because defenses they can just rush 6 and force the hot throw. So you have to get rid of the ball quickly from 5 wide, pretty much.
Yeah.
Unless your quarterback is Michael Vick or something and he can just run around.
Yeah, then of course, mobility. Quarterback.
Yeah, mobility matters. Dave Barclay says, I still stand tall behind Trey. He needs games.
I agree.
Yep. Corey Soto says you're playing devil's advocate. Lance broke his ankle. He wasn't benched. There is no starter on the market good enough to roll with. Trey playing because they have no real alternative. Well, we'll go through it. Maybe that's true. A lot of times I feel like I like Trey Lance more than Kyle does. I'm just saying.
He came in. He didn't ask to be here. He got drafted. Play him.
Yeah. What could he have possibly done behind the scenes to make you sour on him this much? Like,
play him.
You didn't know Brock Purdy was good, really, until he got in the games. You didn't. Okay? So Trey Lance has played like 15 quarters. You compare his first 15 quarters to Jalen Hurts' first 15 quarters, Trey's are better.
Yeah.
Trey's are better. So why don't you give him a chance? Is Flacco too washed? Yes.
Yes.
Ask Robert Saleh. Will Kyle get Trey hurt again? I believe so. I mean, will Kyle get insert quarterback name here hurt? I mean, that's his pattern.
Yeah.
So
I'm getting frustrated because I do see the writing on the wall. I really hope Trey makes it through offseason into camp. Like, I don't want another story, man. Like, I don't want us to win the offseason. I want us to win the season. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm tired of winning the offseason. Like, I want us to go in with a guy, and what's kind of crazy is that the number one reason why we're always saying that we didn't want Trey to start is because of the window. We want to win. We want to win. We want to win. Guys.
Win what? Win what?
Win what?
Yeah, win what? The division? Okay. You can do that. Nice. Hang a banner.
Yeah.
You beat the Cowboys. Nice. That's a rivalry from 30 years ago that some people remember, man. That's good stuff.
You're going to keep getting the same test until you pass it. Yeah. And I'm telling you, we're going to keep getting the same thing until we take our medicine. We think that we're going to be able to just keep a window and then get a rookie, not play him, and usher in a vet, and then play nah, man, we got to play him. It's time to own up and play him.
Official B&A Music 88 says Ravens called him Project Pat. Patrick Ricard. Project Pat, legendary rapper from Memphis, of course.
That's one of my all-time rappers. Mr. Don't Play.
Oh, yeah.
Getty Green.
Mr. Don't Play. That's right. North. Come on, man. All right. Let's go through it. So this morning there was an article written by Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, smart guy, laying out like, hey, okay, so Tom Brady retired? Right. He did that last year too. Oh, he filed paperwork? Doesn't matter. He's going to be a free agent this year. So he probably thinks he wants to retire now, but time passes, things could change. The 49ers quarterback job could be open if Brock Purdy's injury is worse. Let's say Brock Purdy misses the season and all of a sudden the Niners call Tom and they're like, hey, I know you're retired, but we kind of have this job here. Like, you want to win a Super Bowl? You want a 1-year deal, $15 million, win a Super Bowl? What do you say? Tom might reconsider. So that's floating out there this year if things get weird with Brock. What do you think about this possibility?
I don't want Tom Brady. That's what my opinion. What do I think? Anything is possible with our organization, especially with what we just talked about. This would be the perfect Pope Smoke move where, out of nowhere, Tom is just, a Niner because he's not really affiliated with anybody or any team. So it'd be really easy to just speak with him and kind of just some Cabo shit. Like, oh, are we talk? You know what I mean? Like, we went and talked to him and had some drinks, and it'd be so NFL and
we did the secret handshake. We were initiated into our club. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, at what point are we just selling out just to get a ring? Like, what are we doing here?
Like, the Rams did that, and look at them now.
Look at them.
Look at them now. Like, they're done.
One of the biggest things that people talk about Niners fans is that we're arrogant, we're sanctimonious, we are, we're one of the original teams in the league. Is this what we want to do to get rings? Are we going to turn into the Lakers, pilfering to do anything just to get a championship? Like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't want Tom Brady. I don't want to be involved in that circus. You know what I'm saying? I don't want
It's his legacy.
stupid
It's more his legacy than the Niners. If he wins
Yeah.
the Super Bowl, it's his 8th, right? It's
If
not the
we
Niners'
win
6th. Yeah.
with Tom Brady, thank you. It'll be Tom
Yeah.
Brady's 8th, not the 49ers' 6th.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
And you know what?
Yeah.
We'll deserve it.
Yeah.
We will deserve that fate. Right?
Here's the
it'll be Tom Brady and the Niners.
Yeah.
That's what it'll be. So if that's what you want, then cool. But I don't want that. Because it's almost kind of like, when he comes, they're gonna cook the books. So as soon as he leaves, everything's gonna fall apart. You're not gonna really have anything in place to go. Like I'm not a fan of shirking the process. And I feel like we're doing that if we make that move.
I also feel like Kyle's ego won't allow him to not take most of the credit. And if Tom's here, you can't take most of the credit. The reason he likes quarterbacks like Brock Purdy and Kirk Cousins is that Kyle's always going to get most of the credit for their success.
Right.
Always. But with Tom, you can't. And, I think Andy Reid is okay with that. Andy Reid, his ego allows him to have Patrick Mahomes and be like, dude, it's Patrick. It's Mahomes.
Yeah.
Come on. But that's not Kyle, at least not yet. So I think that's why Tom Brady didn't get here 3 years ago. And I'd be interested to see if Kyle has Kyle changed? I don't know.
Well, let's stick with this. Number one, I agree with you. I don't think that Kyle has the grace to be able to say, well, hey, it's Tom's show. I'm just here running it. Yeah, I'm just here calling the plays, and ultimately I'm just the head coach and I get a ring too. I don't see him taking on that type of narrative at all. And conversely, if you look at a coach like Andy Reid, there's something to be said about how long his tenure has been, because I feel like Andy Reid is perfect for a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid had Donovan McNabb. Andy Reid had Michael Vick. And, these are some strong personalities, in an era of the NFL where I feel like in today's NFL, you can almost tell the difference between kids and men. You can tell who's a grown man on the field and who's a TikTok dancer. You know what I'm saying? Yep. And I feel like there was a time in the league where they were all men, literally. And I feel like now you see a lot of coaches being friends with their players, and I don't think that Kyle's coaching style would match up to what Tom Brady brings, because you consult a guy like Tom Brady. You don't coach him. And
I think what Kyle likes to do is he likes guys who need him. A veteran whose career is kind of fallen off and he needs Kyle to restart it. Or a guy on a rookie deal who's a day 3 pick who's nobody and needs Kyle to make him somebody. I think those are the kind of guys, because Kyle's the strong personality. He wants someone like Brock Purdy, like, sir, yes, sir.
If you think about it, Grant, I don't think Niners are ready to stomach, or Kyle is ready to stomach anybody else throwing an iPad on the field, on the sidelines, but Kyle.
Brady does that. Brady will get in Kyle's face. He will.
I don't think we're ready for that. I feel like the only coach that gets the license to snap on the sidelines is Kyle, because it's his team. I don't think that there's another guy who could be playing with his helmet on and something go bad offensively where it would indirectly kind of make it look like the OC doesn't know what he's doing. I don't think he could stomach that.
I don't think Kyle wants that smoke. Absolutely not.
I don't think he could stomach that.
No.
So
I don't see this one happen. Also, they can't go get Tom Brady as soon as free agency starts. You'd have to wait on Tom. Hey, let's call him in July and see how he feels. And if he ultimately decides, hey, remember when you said no to me 3 years ago? You don't want to be left out in the cold with no plan B. So I don't really see the Tom Brady thing happening, although it's interesting to speculate about.
And then also, we have, if you notice, even on the kind of the Tom Brady track, he's getting on teams where either he's entrenched or they kind of just drop everything for him. When Tom comes to the Niners, all of those guys, he's going to be holding his own camps. He's going to be holding his own stuff, meeting with guys. And
he's going to have input on personnel. Hey, let's bring in this guy.
Yeah. I just don't see that happening here. There's way too many embedded processes that are already here that are not Tom.
Let me make one case for why this could happen. If they get him, they're Super Bowl favorites, or at least they're NFC favorites. And Brian Greasy's here. I always wondered what that was about because he had no experience. He ended up doing a good job, although Brock Purdy was already a finished product. Brian Greasy played with Tom Brady in college. So there's a buffer, theoretically, between Kyle and Tom. Hey, don't ever talk directly. Brian will be in between because Brian has the mutual respect of either one. Maybe. But again, it would
that
be
might
tough.
Play.
It might.
That plays.
Yeah, it could. Again, it would have to be like Brady being like, "Look, man,
I mean,
I'm retired, but I always wanted to play for. I always wanted to play for the Niners, and it's a childhood dream, and yada yada yada. So I'll do it. There's an outside chance that this could happen, but I don't think it's likely. But I wouldn't. It's like 10%, 5, 7, 8%.
And to be honest with you, all right. So one last thing too. Also, Grant, like. The Tom Brady move is almost kind of like a dog whistle for a desperation move.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you can kind of bring in any other quarterback and most of the league will look at that and say, oh, it fits, or maybe
they're sticking to their plan. They're sticking to their plan.
They're sticking to their plan. But anybody who touches Tom Brady is officially
desperate,
worried about winning right away. Because that's all Tom Brady worries about. So if Tom Brady walks through the door, then that's officially like, all right, so look at it this way.
Save me, Tom.
Even if we win or lose with Tom Brady, right? Yeah. How are you Trent Williams to say, let's run it back? I'm retiring, bro.
Yeah.
I just won with Tom Brady.
It's over.
You know what I'm saying?
The whole thing's over. Yeah,
it's going to be a huge exhale, and we're going to be left as fans picking up those pieces. I don't want Tom Brady here. Yeah. I don't want him here. No.
Corey Soto says, you spent the capital, rip off the Band-Aid, you scared little genius.
Thank you.
They should make a biopic about Kyle called The Little Genius.
Yeah.
He's very tall, though. Brady and Kyle would never get along.
I don't think they would.
I don't think they would. Dave Barclay says, even though it might be good for Kyle to listen once. Yeah, I think that ship is sailed. Nailed it, coach. You don't coach Brady, you consult. That was a great line, for sure. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. This one's interesting. Ryan Tannehill could get cut. He was sort of getting phased out at Tennessee last year. He's going to be extremely expensive if they cut him, if they keep him.
Right.
Ryan Tannehill's interesting. You could probably get him for a 1-year deal, maybe. He'd probably be more expensive than Trey Lance. He's been in a play action offense. He's been in a run first offense. He seems kind of like Kyle Shanahan's he's a little like Kirk Cousins.
Right.
He's a little Kirk Cousins-y.
He's a Kirky. He's a little Kirky.
He's a little Kirky.
He's a little Kirky.
Is this the move up the Niners sleeve that no one's talking about?
I would say no, because Ryan Tannehill has starter reps left in him, right? In my opinion. And because of that, I feel like Ryan Tannehill is almost kind of like a mid version of what we would think Trey would be, right? If Trey never really, if the curl never really,
that's true. Yeah.
So the fit makes sense, right? As far as, especially with what we were trying to do with Trey, but I feel like playing Ryan Tannehill in front of Trey, you would have to play him in front of Trey. He wouldn't come here to be a backup.
Exactly.
Right? So, again,
it would be relegating Trey. You'd be paying him more than Trey.
We keep going with this circular logic. We keep circling around this. No matter what scenario we come up with, no matter what hypothetical, what if any player, if Trey Lance does not start as the quarterback for the 49ers for the 2023-24 season, this is a failure. I'm sorry. That's it. That's full stop. Sure. Because bringing in Ryan Tannehill is bringing in a budget Trey Lance.
It's true. But let me ask you, do you think they win the Super Bowl if they bring in Ryan Tannehill at $13 million for 1 year?
I'm not prepared to talk about the Super Bowl at all. We got one quarterback on contract, one that has half of an elbow, and
Yeah.
we're currently looking for a pseudo backup / starter. So
Yeah.
no, I'm
Yeah.
not ready to talk about this. We
Not
need
to
to
mention
check
the
our
starting
ego.
center,
You know
the
what?
starting right tackle. Yeah.
Anybody that's talking about the Super Bowl has not closed about who we truly are. We need to move on into this year and understand that we're a new team and we don't know what we'll be. But talking about the Super Bowl is a bad start. It's a bad start.
All I'm saying is I don't trust a word Kyle Shanahan says in press conferences anymore. Not about injuries, nothing. And so when he says that he thinks Trey Lance is a starter, I don't know that he feels that. So if he goes after and gets a starting quarterback this year, I wouldn't be surprised. I just wouldn't. I don't know where he's coming from.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be. First of all, we never know what they're doing. I've given up on trying to put the tea leaves up to what they're doing. But I feel like you don't put that much into a guy. Like, all right, forget the draft, right? The cap, it's almost over. He's been here 3 years, right? Those picks are coming back. But the man hours, man, it takes a lot to get a quarterback ready. And for you to be fictitiously doing that all this time says a lot, man. Because you can't, as a coach, you want to put that on the field. I have to see. But if what you've done thus far is making you feel as though that you can't put him on the field at all, like you're ready to just cut bait without even giving him a full season, then you knew he wasn't ready. You knew he wasn't the guy to begin with.
So hold on. I think one of the things that we do when we have this conversation, all of us, why did Kyle Shanahan change? Did Kyle Shanahan change his mind about Trey? What did Kyle have a change of heart? That's not necessarily how Kyle works. All right. It's not, he doesn't just make decisions on his own. He gets input. He takes feedback. There's a group of players on the team that are essentially friends with him.
Brain trust.
So is it him or was it him and Juszczyk and Kittle and whoever the group is a significant section of the veterans on the team just against that project? And is Kyle just going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to fight that. I'm not going to fight it. Sorry.
This is what worries me about the dynamics of our team. How do you party and drink and vacation with your coach, but not talk to him about who you want to play as quarterback?
Of course you do.
Of course you do.
Of course you do.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that right there worries.
Kyle shouldn't even invite that conversation. That's none of their business. He shouldn't even invite that. None of your business. I'll make the decision. You'll play. That's my job. You do your job. End of story.
Yeah, but how do you say that? How do you say that with sand in between your toes and a Mai Tai?
You don't. You already blurred that line.
Yeah.
So hey, George, Kyle, Deebo, Trent, Christian. Let's talk about what we're gonna do at quarterback next year. Oh, I don't want Trey. Oh, 5 of you don't want Trey? Well, okay, there you go. Well, it's a democratic process.
I feel like strong locker room is dog whistle for toxic environment.
I know what you mean. Because who's leading? Sometimes it feels like
is the tail wagging the dog?
It feels like the tail is wagging the dog on this team. And since the Niners keep, winning divisions, no one really cares. But eventually, if they don't win a Super Bowl, these will be the reasons why.
Yeah, famous losses.
Famous losses. Dude, George Kittle singing at the NFL honors is going to be how I remember him the rest of his career unless he wins a championship. That is my lasting image of George Kittle. What?
Well, I mean, at some point, our identity, it got to be in us and not on us. And I feel like we did a lot of work on producing who we are for an identity as a team. And we're really excited that everybody believes us now because we get close. It's
true. Let me bring it back to the beginning of this topic, and then we'll move on with Tannehill. I feel that Kyle might be concerned about having another 2020 where quarterback goes down, Trey, and there's no one left, and you're going through a season with a backup, and you don't make the playoffs. And I wonder if the fan base would give him the injury excuse yet again in year 7. If he missed the playoffs, he might feel, man, if Brock isn't around and Trey is my only starter, Like we could be in a bad season. And not just if Trey's bad, but if I get Trey hurt. So
Well,
they might get desperate and bring in a guy like Tannehill just to ensure, just for the same reason they brought back Jimmy last year, except paying more.
Well, styles make fights, man. And I feel as though that when we talk about the good that the Niners do, ergo our coaching staff, we generalize. This is one of the best offenses in the league. This is one of the best teams in the league. No team has gone to the NFC Championship game. This is the third championship game in 5 whatever years. It's always like this skewed, generalized, you can't really attack this narrative, right?
Right.
But if you
they're not champions, but they're as good as you could possibly be without being champions.
If Kyle Shanahan gets fired today, he's hired yesterday. Like all of that stuff. But if you look at the context of what somebody can do, what they're capable of, and what they produce, then you have to hold them on that standard. And our standard is that we keep losing big games. And I feel like we got to keep the main thing the main thing. Like, we can't generalize when we just want to explain away what our specific issues are as a franchise. And our problem is that we can't keep quarterbacks healthy, and we lose in big games. And we also have a quarterback that we need to put on the field by hook or crook. And that's what needs to happen.
Dude, the Niners have been having a tough time keeping quarterbacks healthy since freaking Aeneas Williams laid out Steve Young when I was in 6th grade, man. Like, this has been an issue for the Niners since the 90s, since the late 90s. They gotta it's crazy because they showed the league that how quarterback driven it really is. This is the Niners showed it. It's not about the running, it's about the quarterback. That's it. And the Niners for the last 25 years have been trying to make the quarterback just a piece of the pie. Like, nah, man, it's not. It's
and we talked about this, bro. Like, we talked about the last time we talked about before the Super Bowl, we said that this Super Bowl was going to be an indictment on how teams are going to build their franchises. Are they going to go for the cheap quarterback with the loaded roster, or do they have to find a unicorn? Do they got to go get that guy? And we saw who won.
You gotta go get that. You gotta go get that.
You gotta go get that guy.
You gotta go get that guy. I like the idea, and I think the Niners are into that idea that, hey, you can actually win with average quarterback play. No, you can't. You can't. I don't care how cheap.
Because
I don't care how good your team is. Nope.
For as great as Jalen played, he played the best game of his life. That fumble killed him.
Patrick Mahomes
That's what killed him.
Yeah, Mahomes didn't fumble. He was flawless. Hurts
no sacks.
Yeah, Hurts was great, but he wasn't flawless. And you got to be flawless. You got to be flawless to beat Mahomes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trey Murphy says, question not Brock versus Trey. It's Kyle Shanahan versus Sirianni. In 2 years, Sirianni exposed Kyle Shanahan's flaws, in my opinion. Developed Hurts, had the offense Kyle Shanahan wanted. Super Bowl should have been 5 versus 15. It's really true. I mean, look what he did with Hurts, and look what Kyle didn't do with Trey. It's a really good point.
Yeah, and what's so frustrating about this whole Trey narrative is that it's not over.
No.
It
hasn't even started. It hasn't even started.
Yes. Like, we're talking about this like it's a foregone conclusion. Like, if Trey just starts, like, if he gets through the offseason, and I don't care how he looks in camp, you're the coach. He should have been ready. All right? And if he's not ready, then that's your fault. But don't bury him, right? Don't bury him because what we're going to do afterwards, we're just going to be pilfering for a championship. It's going to look so cheap and classless, and I don't want to do it.
And I hate to bring race up again, but again, name me one white top 3 pick in the history of the NFL in our lifetime who was written off after 3-4 starts. I mean, Ryan Leaf started 21 games. Ryan Leaf, who always sucked.
Peyton was ass his rookie year.
So bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, it's crazy. You're seeing it with Trey. Like, there's so much noise. He's a bust. No chance to develop. No chance to get his feet underneath him. Frankly, I think something special about Philly. Philly seems to be one market where they've been open to a black quarterback since the 80s. But
did you hear what AJ Brown said on the Raw Room podcast?
What'd he say?
He said their GM, I forgot their GM's name.
Howie Roseman.
He looked dead in the camera. He told Howie Roseman, he said, if you don't pay this man, wherever he goes, send me with him. Like,
I would pay Jalen Hurts because look, he's going to be expensive, but at least you know that you're going to have consistently excellent quarterback play every season. You can't say that you're going to have consistently excellent defense every season. That's dependent on 11 players and injuries and turnovers and stuff that's out of your control. It's easier to just keep the quarterback.
And also with Jalen, if you want to just stay on, like, touch on race a little bit, he's a culture fit. He's a culture fit in Philly. You can tell that they literally look up to him on all facets. There's no rookie, there's no vet with the Eagles talking about Jalen Hurts like he's a kid. Like there's no Pro Bowler getting on there talking about, oh, well, as long as Jalen just keeps his act together, and as long as Jalen manages the game, he'll be all right. We got the number one defense, or
as long as Jalen doesn't make any big mistakes.
Yeah, as long as Jalen just keeps his stuff together, then we can do that. And this is after Jalen having his breakout year, where everybody was talking about how shaky he was last year, and none of his players were talking about that. You see the narrative, the difference of how your teammates can talk about a kid versus Trey. You wouldn't even think he knows how to walk.
It's true.
Based
on what some of his teammates say. Based on some of what his teammates say,
based on how they talk about him indirectly versus another kid who came in who struggled. He didn't show anything.
No, he didn't.
And you know what they did? They rallied, and they didn't just rally to make themselves look good. Oh yeah, we're here to support. No, they talked about him like he was the starter. They talked about him like he was the man. Nobody questioned him. And you know what else? You know how else that I know that they can do it? Because they did it with Brock. Yep. So if they could do it with Brock and they're not doing it with Trey, that should let you know what's going on.
It's a very interesting comparison, contrast between the two cultures, the Niners and the Eagles. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan49 says, hear you on TB, but part of me wants to be one and done. How long do we wait for that next quarterback ring? It's been 25 plus years. Need top 3 quarterback to have a dynasty. I mean, I'm in for bringing in a quarterback. It doesn't have to. I mean, Steve Young wasn't drafted by the Niners, but I understand what you're saying about Tom Brady. Also, I just don't think it's going to happen. No. I just don't think it's going to happen. Frank Tom Ocean says, I hope this Niner team isn't like the 2000 sack Kings. Man, they got screwed by refs who were literally cheating on the game. Yeah. All right. Let's say the Niners sign someone like Ryan Tannehill. Does that mean they're going to trade Trey Lance? Is there a possibility that they're like, you know what, secretly we're out and Brock's our guy, and if he's going to start this year, he's going to start, and if not, we're going to sign someone for a 1-year deal, but we're out on Trey, and if we can get a second round pick we'll take it. Or are they going to say, we need a backup, Trey? So sorry, but we don't care how much we gave up for you. Brock's our future. We need a backup this year, and we need Ryan or whoever. Tom is our starter, Tom Brady. And you're a backup. And what are you going to do? You signed a contract. What do you think? Or do they love him?
Well, as the world turns in Ninerland, we don't know what Brock is. We don't, we don't know what he's going to be. So with that said, I feel like this is a shame to say, but they'll treat Trey like the starter. You know what I'm saying? They'll treat him like the starter.
They'll say he's the starter. They'll say he's the
starter. Yeah. But
we love him.
Quell any suspicion, right? Yeah. But what they'll do is they'll get a guy who's kind of like maybe fringe backup. And I feel like if you start listening to the press conferences and guys start talking about quarterback competition and so look good and we have confidence, then Trey may limp into the season as a starter, and maybe by week 3 find the bench if he's struggling, because he will struggle. He's going to struggle, right? He's going to struggle.
The Niners offense struggles for the first 2 months of every season.
Yeah, come on, right?
Yeah.
And Brock, and the only reason why Brock didn't struggle really is because they had really gotten all the kinks out. Like, he came in the middle of the season, like Brock is still Brock.
Yeah,
I don't want to take anything away from him, but it's a difference from when everybody's trying to get it together versus you just trying to get it together.
Good point.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think trading him anytime before this season ends, they really wouldn't get what they want for him anyway. So I don't think they would trade him. Not this year.
Because I mean, Could you really get a first round pick for Trey after what
No,
has happened? I don't think you could.
no.
So isn't he more valuable to you as even as a backup if that's all he is? Because considering you go through quarterbacks, like freaking water, like I think you need him. Even if you don't think you like, and again, the Niners, you can't judge quarterbacks. Stop acting like Trey's ready. If that's how you feel,
Right.
you didn't
don't
even
know.
you don't know. You didn't know what you had in Brock. He was
You
the third.
don't know.
You put Jimmy on the field before Brock because you're
Yeah.
so astute. Yeah, you're so perceptive.
Yeah, and then also in some ways, look at it this way. Like, let's say if Trey does play, you got Brock in your back pocket, Trey fails, and then that may be just enough rope for Kyle to look over his shoulder at Jed and say, "See, look, man, we tried. He played a little bit. And then what'd be crazy is that you'll have the pressure of the season on your back while you're trying to make that move, right? Because it's like, well, we got a backup. Let's play him. We can sit Trey and try to move him for parts. And why don't you want to move now? We're trying to win the season, right?
Yeah.
So almost in a way, it would be a shame. But if Trey was to get moved, it would kind of be like one of those, like, almost like how Christian McCaffrey happened. Like, thief of the night in the middle of nowhere.
If they trade him after they sign a quarterback, though, it's like, hey, let's say they sign Ryan Tannehill, and I'm Howie Rowe, or I'm a general manager from other team from Tennessee.
Okay.
And I say, so I see you just signed our ex-quarterback. Seems like Trey's your backup now, huh? Well, can I trade you a 4th-round pick for him if he's your backup?
Yeah, what's up with Trey?
I'll give you a 4th, and they'll not just be like, no, we love Trey. We want a 1st for him. What do you mean he's a 1st? He's your backup quarterback. You don't love him. You're lying.
Hey, and just to sweeten this narrative, who just moved to the Titans?
Rand Carthon. Didn't Kyle Shanahan say? Trey Lance said that okay, so he put the little fingers crossed emoji about Rand Carthon, which is it means nothing essentially. And then we were all like, does that mean he wants to go to the Titans? Who knows? So Trey said that Kyle came up to him and was like, so you're going to the Titans? So you're getting traded to the Titans? And Trey's like, no.
You know what's crazy about that? When Trey brought that up, two things came to mind. One, didn't Rand take that job during the season?
Nah, he took it right after the season. Maybe during the playoffs, I guess.
During the playoffs.
During the playoffs. Yes.
What is Kyle doing on social media or knowing anything about this during the playoffs?
I know. Someone must have told him.
Trey's not playing, but why are you coming up? Why do you know about this?
Yeah, you're the head coach. He's done. You're not. It's funny. Hey, he wanted to talk about it, right? He acted like he was too cool. Like, yeah, no big deal, right? But he needed to make a point. Hey, what's that about?
I needed to bring it up to you.
I needed to bring it up to you. I need you to respond to it. I need you to be like, "Oh yeah, it's nothing, man." Okay, cool.
And the level of how small that was, and the fact that he noticed that lets me know that you look at a lot more than just that.
Yep. So look, I mean, there's a lot of pieces that are going to move when free agency starts. We don't know what's going to happen with Tannehill. There could be a vacancy in Tennessee. That could happen. Who knows? Kyle brought it up himself. Tennessee would be a perfect place for Trey, and maybe the Niners are a perfect place for freaking Tannehill from Kyle's perspective. I don't know.
Look, in this little cove right here, we are pro player. Okay, we're pro player. So I understand that the logo may say SF on it, but anybody who is putting their life on the line at this stage of their life, they deserve to go wherever they want and be happy. Right? Yep. Because all of us would take this opportunity if we had it. Right? So, I'm looking for Trey to be taken care of on a human level. And if that's not here, then he needs to go.
And I love it. Like, a lot of the new age coaches act like they're player-friendly coaches because they get along or they're young or whatever. It's like, okay, are you going to completely sabotage Trey Lance's career because you're wishy-washy and don't really know what you want to do at the position? If you're really pro-player and you've made up your mind that he's not for you, why would you do this to him?
Do him a solid.
Do him a solid. Why would you not? You care. You're a coach, right? You're an educator. These are youths. They're in their 20s.
These are pupils.
You care. You care, right? They're not just players in a Madden game. I mean, they're real people. I don't know. That's because that's how the coaches talk. I care. Show it.
whenever, if I honestly, I want this conversation to just fall like it never happened, because I really want him to get a chance to start. I really believe it would look so good to watch him for a season and see the struggles, know what we have, and another thing is, I feel like we really underestimate ourselves as fans. We cheered for Brock sight unseen. Mm-hmm. If Trey showed any type of promise pushing forward, we would all get behind him. Like, just get him on the field, man.
Yeah. Give him a month where he gets to play 4 games in a row. How about that?
Right.
And don't run him like a running back. Let him scramble.
Yeah.
So, Dave Barclay says, worst decision if they move on from Trey.
Yeah.
And I will boycott Niners until Kyle's gone. I love you, Dave. Quest for 8 NFC title, that is, because that's our bar now. Oh, man. Our viewers are hilarious. All right, let's get off the quarterback discussion for a while. Should the Niners sign Taylor Lewin? He got cut by Tennessee, longtime left tackle. Used to be a hell of a player. Towards ACL.
No.
Games last few seasons. Yeah.
No, we should not.
No.
Well, he's just, he'd be right up our alley. He's had multiple injuries and he's just coming off of the ACL. He and it will almost kind of like be signing the equivalent of Tom Brady at offensive line. Another guy who he would only be coming here to get a ring. And he would be playing out of position, honestly. Taylor Lewan is a career left tackle. So even putting him at right tackle with the injuries, and I think he was due 14 M's from Tennessee, and that's why they let him go. That's the floor of what we were hoping maybe that Mike McGlinchey would take. Mike McGlinchey's probably looking at 15 to 16. So
I can't believe that. But okay.
It's the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah, it's the market. So even with that, what is Taylor? So we're going to pay Taylor Lewan $9 to $10 million to play out of position.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense to me. And
after he's missed so much time due to injury,
right. And to be honest with you, I don't want another personality in the locker room. I think we have enough. I don't want another. I don't want a podcast guy in the locker room. I don't want it. I'm just tired of it, bro. We
also he would fit right in though, because
he would fit right in.
Right? Aren't Kyle Shanahan and George Kittle? Don't they all wear like the bussin' with the boys? They're like fans of the show.
Oh my!
So it's gonna happen. Hey, if Taylor Lewin would move from left tackle to right tackle for anyone, it would be the 49ers.
Yeah, it would be. And again, it would be, dude, like,
now that you brought up the podcast thing, dude, this is definitely gonna happen. This is 100% gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. Sorry. I'm not excited about it.
I'm just tired of like the frat boy NFL teams, man. Like,
one of the things I like about the Eagles is that they're not that.
They're not that. They're not that.
Not
you know what I'm saying? They don't, I'm sorry, man. Like,
I don't root for the Eagles, but I do kind of get a kick out of what they've built in 2 years. I think they're doing pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and I love what we've built. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like we're on the cusp of a culture issue.
Yeah, Taylor Lewin would definitely fix that, though. Bring him in.
Oh, yeah, right. He would tip the scales, definitely.
All right, I got an intriguing one. What about Cameron Sutton, cornerback for Pittsburgh? He's a hell of a player.
Yeah, so he's underrated, and he's very underrated. He's top 10 in picks from last year, this past year. Kind of rangy. I think he's 6 foot. 7-year guy, 5-year guy.
He's about to turn 28 in a couple of days. But that's right in his prime.
Right in his prime. And honestly, I think that almost kind of puts who on the what when we talked about what are the Niners what additions should the Niners make to their team if they go into free agency, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like Cam Sutton will be a welcomed guy that we could put on the other side versus Travarius Ward if we can't make E-Man happen. And I did some pilfering around in like some Steelers chats. They want him bad. Like they want him back badly. So I think that he would be a great addition to what we do. They play the same defense as us. They play the same defense as us on the back end. They play cover 3, and I think it would be a great addition to what we do. And he's very physical, rangy, and he gets picks. Now, this is the thing. He does have a little bit of Carlos Rogers in him. He can't like that. One of the things that they say about him is that he would be Deion Sanders if he could catch, because he drops a lot. So that's kind of like the knock on him, is that he drops a lot of picks. But in my estimation, dropping a lot of picks means that you're home. You're in the right position, right?
And he also picked off 3 passes last year. He only missed 2. He only missed 1 game, and he gave up a passer rating of 65.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, because it's like either him or Mosley. Mosley's really good, but Mosley's missed a lot of time, and he's coming off a torn ACL. And I'm looking at Spot Track. I don't know how accurate it is, but they're estimating that he's going to get a 4-year, $64 million contract.
Which is not going to be in Santa Clara.
Mosley, no. But Sutton, they're saying 323, which is like half, like $7 million a year.
He's affordable.
That's affordable. That's absolutely affordable.
Yeah.
And if the alternative is like draft a cornerback in round 4, well, I'd rather go with Cameron Sutton.
Yeah. I would go with Cameron Sutton. And then again, like I said, our defense is completely different when we can rely on our secondary. Seriously, because I know you heard, like, we're only as strong as our weakest link, right? Mm-hmm. And our weakest link is our secondary, right? And I feel like when our secondary is playing really good, it elevates the best parts of our defense, right?
Particularly the D-line. It was interesting. Everyone thought the D-line was super dominant, but at the end of this, we gave it a C+ this year. I think what happened was early in the season, it seemed dominant because there were 2 shutdown corners, and there were actually a bunch of coverage sacks.
Yeah.
They really were. I mean, Ebukam was getting them. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now. And then what's so funny is that it was like it flipped on the inverse. It was the turnovers for the secondary were because of sack pressure. It was because of the D-line was creating those picks and turnovers.
Yes.
Yeah,
it works together. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just feel like if we get somebody like Cam in at corner, that would really help us out, right? And because one of the things is, like, how sometimes you go through bad situation after bad situation, but it's like you don't realize that those situations are preparing you for what's about to come, right? And we have so much time on task with young corners like Sam Womack, Demo, Ambry, so and Quintavious Knight. I like Quintavious. Quantrez Knight. Sorry.
Quantrez. So we're friends. We both went to UCLA. Whenever I see him in the locker room, he gives me a dap. He daps me.
Quantrez Knight. I think Quantrez Knight.
I call him Q though. You can call him Q.
Maryland.
You can call him Q. He goes by Q.
Hey, if you see him, tell him that I looked him up. He's from around here. He went to Maryland.
Okay, I'll look him up. All right, I'll look him up. I mean, I'll tell him.
Anyway, what I was saying is that those guys are what we would really be advantageous with in our nickel and our dime situation, because we have all of those young guys who have that time on task, right? Well, sans Quantrez, but what I'm saying is that I feel like one move could elevate an entire unit, is what I'm trying to say.
Let me just say one thing. I like the Cameron Sutton signing, but I think what's interesting about the Niners is, for a team that has shown an uncanny ability to draft and develop late picks, man, they're so committed to signing players and trading and bringing in vets. Like this should be like an asset for them. Hey, we don't have to sign everyone, but they do. It seems like all their starters are veterans on their second contract, when, man, they develop nobody's like better than anybody.
Well, ask yourself this. Are we developing full players, or are we developing guys with roles, right? So can Jawan Jennings go play slot at go play slot anywhere in the NFL?
No.
Right?
No.
You see what I'm saying?
And we've talked about this. The Niners have a lot of scheme, team specific players.
Specialist specific players, right?
Yep.
So sometimes, and I'm not here to say that we don't develop, but what I am here to say is that we have a very specific scheme, especially on both sides of the ball. And what happens is that when it's a very good thing for a coaching staff, because when you know that, you can kind of take a flyer on a guy who may not be good holistically, but he has certain attributes or that one thing that puts him above the rest. And because he's playing around veteran players, you can kind of ingest all of the minimal things he does and kind of develop some of the good things he does. And what ends up happening is that the things that he struggles with, the floor rises, and then hopefully you get somebody that you can put on the field. DJ Jones, Fred Warner, you know what I'm saying? Dre Greenlaw. Another one who's coming is Marcelino McCurry Ball, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
that they do this a lot.
That's true. All right, last topic. This is interesting. I feel like Deebo Samuel is an enigma. This time last year, he was the team. He was the MVP of the team. He was requesting a trade, and everyone was like, what are we going to do about Deebo? You can't trade Deebo. You got to give Deebo what he wants. He got what he wanted, and he had a year where he essentially made no impact, and he missed time. They didn't miss him. They were fine without him. When he would come back, sometimes it felt like they were forcing him the ball, and it would kind of take him out of the rhythm of their offense, and it was just a strange down year. Are you expecting him to bounce back? Because if he does, it seems like this offense really could be unstoppable if he's the 2021 version. But is it realistic to expect that to come back? Or is this the new normal for Deebo, you think?
Well, I'd like to think that, number one, Deebo is a very talented player. We know this. One of one for what he does. 2 years ago, he had a great season. All-time season.
Yeah.
But I think we all know that's pretty hard to replicate, to be able to do that year in and year out, right?
Yeah.
So
Jerry Rice did it. No one else did it.
Yeah, Jerry did it. And to be real, Jerry did it with an offensive scheme that the rest of the league hadn't caught up to yet, with an all-time quarterback, with a great coach. So, it all ties rise, So with Deebo, I would say I would like him to focus on being more of a leader. Yeah. I think that he can. I feel like when he's on point for what he does, our offense is unstoppable. But I don't see an offense that thrives with what we're doing with Deebo taking a back seat. I can't see it. Christian McCaffrey is good for what he is, but we paid Deebo. You know what I'm saying? He's the guy that we paid. So if we're being fair, this was a season that had ebbs and flows for him. I mean, he started off the season in contract disputes, and said that he wanted a trade. Then after that, he came in with hamstring issues into camp, and he tried to play his way into shape. Kind of fell off with production, playing his way into shape because he came in a little late. Then he got hurt. Gets hurt and then comes back at maybe 50%. Thank God that we can even get him on the field.
Right.
So for me, he may regress. There is a little bit of regression to the mean. I don't expect him to be what he was in 2020. Was that 21? I don't expect him to have that type of year, but I do expect him to have a far better year than he had this year.
I just don't understand, like, where did the explosion in the speed and the route running go? It seemed like he was not getting open down the field, and so they just kept giving him the ball closer and closer to the line of scrimmage. And his whole route tree at the end of the season was crossers and screens and handoffs and
right. And then we just don't know about his health, right? So that's one. Yeah. So we don't know what he's dealing with. Where Deebo said that Kyle is like his father, which was a bizarre statement.
Weird thing to say.
Yeah, very bizarre. But I think that
Kyle got Deebo paid. Kyle made Deebo a very rich man.
Yeah. And I think that he's gonna regress to the mean. I don't think what he showed us that year in 2021. I'm not expecting to see that out of Deebo every week. Every year. I'm not expecting that. But what I am expecting to see is, by the numbers, Deebo to be in at least relatively high categories across the league, like catches, touchdowns, some of the stuff that he's really good at, actually, yards after catch. And I feel like all of those were down for Deebo this year. So rough year, got paid,
If he bounces
got
back,
hurt.
though, if he bounces back, that's so huge for the 49ers. That's so huge. I mean, because he has an ability to be an impact player that, at a level that very few players in the league can do. If he can get there in terms of health and shape, fitness.
Yeah. And I'd like the culture of our team to kind of take a little bit more what Deebo offers, honestly. He's rough, tough guy. Like, as far as our offense is concerned, outside of Trent Williams, Deebo is another bell cow. He's supposed to be a guy that like really pushes the ethos of what we do as a team. So when he's not on, it's open season on us, because really, like you said, we have veteran pieces around, but outside of those veteran guys that are really good, we got guys that can be exploited, right? And if the big guys don't come to play, I don't care how much barking Juwan Jennings doing, you ain't the man, right? The guy who's the man ain't playing. He ain't playing up to snuff. I know you hype right now, but you play 30 snaps a game. This is the guy that makes $60 million. You know what I'm saying? You can be hyped 30 times a game. You got enough energy. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, man. He's our leader, and we need him to kind of just show up and show out when he comes back. He's got to
be a leader. He's got to be a leader. It's funny. He talked a bunch in 2021. He didn't talk much to the media this last year. Be a leader.
Yeah. And I mean, whatever, man. Do what you got to do, man. Like, I feel like even on the podcast, like the Super Bowl press tour for like everybody on our team, even him talking about, how he felt about the Eagles and stuff. You can see like he's super confident in his abilities, especially in the team, but it's just like, what we hear versus what we see has to align.
Have you seen Glass Onion, the movie?
No.
Never mind.
All right.
Never mind.
I'm definitely going to watch it, though.
You should watch it. Have you seen the other one, Knives Out, the first one?
No.
They're worth it. They're good movies. Not great, but it's probably the best stuff I've seen Hollywood produce. Each one's about half hour too long, but I recommend it. I was going to make a reference. It's not important. If you see it, let me know.
All right, bet.
Edward Norton's in it. You haven't seen Edward Norton since Fight Club.
Fight Club.
You know who I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, Edward Norton. All right.
Yeah.
It is a dope movie. Van says, does Kyle want to be the player's friend or dad? I don't think he wants to be their dad. That's kind of strange. No. BA on any other team would be unstoppable wide receiver. Here's the thing. Kyle Shanahan, when he drafted Brandon Ayuk, people were like, wow, who's that? I knew who he was, but a lot of people were like, man, I'm surprised. And to justify it, I was like, man, he's really good. Only wide receiver I liked better than Brandon Ayuk in this class is CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb.
You probably shouldn't have said that, because Justin Jefferson was in that class, and T. Higgins is in that class, and both of those guys are probably better than Ayuk. I mean, Justin Jefferson's better than everyone, but Higgins is probably better than Ayuk too. Kyle talks too much sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, BA, like you said, BA is on the cusp. He got 1K this year, so I want to see how he bounces back this year.
BA is really good. Corey Soto says, I need a change. New quarterback trade a player Kittle, fire the coach after this year. I don't care. This regime has exhausted me. I know Corey's losing it.
But you know what? But that's the league, though, and that's the general. That's what I mean when I talk about the generalized. Oh well, we're this good in college. No, Doug Peterson got fired right after he won a chip.
It's true.
And he won it. He didn't continuously keep going. He won it. Andy Reid got the boot.
Yeah, he did.
You know what I'm saying? So
Tony Dungy got the boot for the same reason. He was like, they gave him a bunch of chances. He couldn't get over the hump. The next year, John Gruden, who may or may, I'm not saying he's better than Dungy,
right? But he got
it done, and then Dungy left, and he got it done somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
we can't sit here and act like the possibility of Kyle getting fired while the team is quote unquote this good is that can happen.
There's definite precedent. There's absolutely precedent. And again, with Andy Reid, both sides were right. Andy needed to leave. He's won 2 championships.
Yeah.
The Eagles, they needed a fresh start. They've been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. Like, it's best thing for both. Maybe that's what Kyle Shanahan needs at some point.
That's the energy. I feel like that's the energy behind the criticism of our team. Right. And I feel like sometimes as fans, we feel like it's hate. And it's like, no, guys, this is the NFL. The NFL stands not for long. If you can't get it done in a certain amount of time, You don't get to sit here and sit back with all of your nice little players and nobody gets to scrutinize them just because they were 2 games outside of it. That's not the way sports works.
And you can't keep your team consistently in the mix for 10 years. Like the Niners have been blessed to be in the mix for 4 years. At a certain point, you missed it. And that's why I think there's so much urgency right now to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Todd Labor says, great Uncle Kyle. I'm a better uncle than Kyle. That's the show. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Coach, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy workday.
Thank you, man. Thanks, bro.
I'll see you guys later.